Here we go. Welcome, officially welcome, congratulations to this Q&A session, to this strategy session, where we're going to talk about how to together weather the current economic and health storm. It's extremely real, and I'm going to preface everything with this statement. I have wild levels of empathy to anyone who is suffering. Anyone, whether it's financially suffering, whether you're losing your job, whether it's a temporary layoff, whether you're sick, whether you know someone that's sick, whether you're just absolutely petrified, whether you're alone, and being alone is like blowing your mind, like you're by yourself, so isolated from the world. Whatever your situation is, I have wild levels of empathy. So I don't want anyone to mistaken my directness on today's Q&A session when it comes to the action that you can take, when it comes to the legendary that you can step into. So I don't want anyone to question my lack of empathy because it's full of empathy. I just want to see you find a way to weather the current situation, maybe even thrive during the current situation, and ultimately, like when it's over, because at some point it will be over and there'll be a new norm that exists, that you're not picking up the pieces of your life, but you're sprinting like full steam ahead. And that's what I'm here to do. I'm in service of you. We'll spend probably about an hour together, unless there's more questions than that. Many questions have been submitted, so I'm definitely going to answer those questions. Let's kick it off. If you are on Facebook Live, please feel free to post questions in the comments. If you're on Zoom, post the questions in the Q&A section, and let's get after it right here, right now. So, questions. I'm going to go through here. We have many questions that were submitted. So about 15 questions here. All right, let's go from top. That's how we'll do this. So Cindy Hokart asked, Cindy Hokart is a SYNDUIT user, awesome, and also part of Unblinded as well. So hello, Cindy. And Cindy said, if I offer to build landing pages for other business owners, how can I leverage SYNDUIT to do so? That's a great question. So anyone out there that is a SYNDUIT user that is thinking to themselves, well, maybe I can like use SYNDUIT like for other businesses, that's definitely an option. We have many people that do that right now. And the way they are doing it is they set up an account in the other user's name and they work out a relationship, a monthly fee that they are charged to offset the cost, obviously, for the SYNDUIT software, but also for you to use the software for them. So there are many examples of businesses that are doing it. They're somewhat technical and creative, and that's a business opportunity for you. Awesome, by all means, go for it. You would set up an account in their name or have them set up their account, and then you would use their account for them. So hope that answered your question, Cindy, and anybody else that may have had a similar question as well. And congrats with everything you're doing at Unblinded. It's awesome to see you in action, really special. Dr. Michelle Gamble, how are you? Functional medicine practitioner. How can we prepare for life after Corona? I want to go on tour. Identify and book speaking locations and possible JV partners. So that's an amazing question. One of the greatest opportunities that exist today is ecosystem merging at the absolute highest level. And I really mean that. I've been saying this now for weeks, and I'm not saying it like for any reason other than I'm living it. I have never found it easier to merge ecosystems with people than right now. And I mean that. Like, I am getting on calls with people that like I either know or I wanted to know easily because they're sitting around not exactly sure what to do. So I'm reaching out, we're having conversations, we're finding ecosystem opportunities that exist, and then we're merging them. And because many people right now are in a little bit of a holding pattern, like not everybody, but some are, it's really easy to schedule. Like just before this call, I had a wonderful conversation with this extraordinary entrepreneur, many, many different businesses he's in, multi-millionaire, and he's actually co-creating a program with Unblinded. And this is someone that, if it wasn't Corona time, is very, very busy. So the thought of him being able to allocate like 4 or 5 hours in a day to record content with the Unblinded team is like highly unlikely. That would have been spread out over like weeks or months, but based on the current climate, because he can't travel and his businesses are where they are, he has time and he's actually like bored and eager to like do something together. So like next Wednesday we're recording. So that's an opportunity for all of you. So Michelle, great question. How do you prepare for life after Corona? Is you do the things now that you never had the time to do before. So what does that mean? Like if you have the vision, Michelle, or any of you, to like start really building like your own personal brand and getting out there, maybe getting paid to speak. And once the world settles down, like speaking at events and going on tour and doing all those types of things, then now is the time that you reach out to every single podcast that is relevant for you. And you give yourself to them and say, hey, I would love to be interviewed for your podcast. I would recommend having some like speakers kit. If anyone is interested, I can actually share like my speakers kit or Sean's speakers kit. It's probably even a better option. If you want to see Sean Callaghan's speaker kit from Unblinded, shoot an email over to info@unblindedmastery.com. info@unblindedmastery.com. In the subject line, just write speakers kit. And we'll send you Sean's and mine as well. So you can just kind of see the difference between the two. But having a speaker's kit is really useful right now. Don't let that be the reason why you don't do it. But I would reach out to every podcast that is relevant and give yourself to that podcast. Tell them I'm going on a virtual speaking tour as we speak. Here is the reason why I could add immense value to your audience, and then have them begin to bring you on their podcast. And here's one of the things I want to encourage you to realize. The biggest podcast in the world might not be your starting point. Any podcast would be. So it's not about having the one that has like the largest reach, the largest audience, although yes, that is cool. But there have been podcasts that I have been on that have had just a deeper relationship with their audience, not that wide of an audience, but a deep one. And it was financially more productive for me. So go after every and all podcasts that are relevant and get on the podcast. In addition, reach out to other people that typically host events and see if you can interview them for Facebook Live, and then have them interview you on Facebook Live or any of the other platforms as well. I don't want anyone waiting for life after Corona. I want you doing it now. Start to build relationships with the people that you didn't have time to build relationships with before, that are your ideal relationships to merge ecosystems with. So what I would recommend is launch your own podcast. I mean, Michelle, if that's something that you've always thought about doing, there's no better time than now. Like the Unblinded team launched a podcast in one day. We're kind of crazy. Like most don't do it in one day. Maybe it'll take you a week, but launch a podcast and then start reaching out to the people that you ultimately would like to have an opportunity to merge ecosystems with, and then interview them. And then they'll most likely reciprocate and interview you. And now you're starting to build the relationship capital and the ecosystem partners that you can leverage post-Corona. So now is the time. Anything that you wanted to do, just do it now and do it virtually. I'll give you an example of this. So one of the things that Unblinded, we host tons of events. In May alone, we canceled 6 events, in June as well. So over a dozen events were canceled. And that doesn't mean we're not doing them. Like we actually are using a virtual conference platform that allows us to host events. And like it's a conference where you can like actually talk with people, and then there's speakers. Like it's a really cool platform. So there's always a way to go about doing what you ultimately wanted to do. It's just being open to the possibility that it's different than it was before. And guess what? It might be different going forward. This might just be like the new norm. So this might just be the new norm. So start now. Like start the new norm now. You will gain an advantage on the world if you start doing this now versus waiting what happens in the world and then the rest of the world catches up. So do it now. Another thing that we're doing at Unblinded is we actually closed on a 40,000 square foot building for our outsourced sales division. And we ended up moving the move-in date like until post-Corona, which could be months or even longer potentially until we're comfortable being in a space like that. And we could be waiting to step into that building, but instead we're building a virtual call center now, literally a virtual call center. And it has shifted our paradigm on how we can scale the company. This is happening for us, not to us. So once again, that was a long answer, but Michelle, like what should you do right now? Anywhere that you want to speak, you want to gain access to ecosystems and networks and opportunities, start now. I recommend you launch your own podcast, launch your own interview series on Facebook Live, invite the people that you want to be invited to speak on your podcast, speak on your Facebook Live, and then use your speakers kit, press kit, whatever you want to call it, and reach out to other podcasts where you feel like you can offer value as well. And if you want to see an example of our speaker/press kit, email info@unblindedmastery.com. info@unblindedmastery.com, and we'll get that over to you. Amazing, amazing. Please post questions in the Q&A on Zoom and in the chat on Facebook Live. Let's go to the next question here. Let's see here. All right. My man, Stanley Dietrich in the house. Let's see what questions Stanley has. Okay, thank you for, okay, here we go. My question, Oh, this was more of an administrative question. So Stanley and really everybody, great. Thank you for this reminder. I created a program. It's called Webinar Wizardry. If you go to webinarwizardry.com, so that's webinar, WIZARDRY.com. This is a course, and it's a $97 course, and we're giving this away for free. Unblind is giving this away for free for at least for, I don't know how long that'll be the case. And the reason why we are doing that is because this is the single greatest time, other than merging ecosystems, to do webinars on at least a monthly basis, if not even a weekly basis. So head over to webinarwizardry.com. There's a promo code right there. It's completely free, no strings attached. Nothing is being sold to you at all. Sign up. You'll get access to the course, access to a community that is also attached to the course. You'll be able to like interact with other people that are now committed to doing webinars at least monthly, if not every week. And it's an easy course. It's only about an hour with some other resources as well. I will have a 2.0 version of that for the people that want to go even deeper into webinars. But as a starting place, this is an absolute breakthrough opportunity for you because it's going to make webinars very easy. Stanley, thank you for that reminder. All right, let's see here. This is a longer question. Okay, so we'll get to that one next. That's a very long question. So, question from Michelle Hawk. I have done 2 webinars and have one tomorrow. Amazing, Michelle, rock star. Would love some feedback about posting them and promoting them on YouTube and other social media. They are a lot of effort, are enjoyable, and not worth the effort if not promoted properly. That is correct. So, awesome question. Now, one of the greatest things about webinars is that a webinar is typically about 45 to 60 minutes long. That's probably like the length of a webinar. If yours are longer than that, I'm going to encourage you to focus on brevity. Like you will start to lose people at a certain point. So 45 to 60 minutes long. If it goes a little bit longer because of a Q&A, that's different, but I would really encourage you to try to keep it to 45 to 60 minutes. But the asset that a webinar generates for you is huge. Like the first webinar I ever did was, I don't know, like 12 years ago, let's say. And I only had one person show up, which was my mom. Like I was the only attendee on the webinar. And I remember thinking to myself, as I saw like no one showing up, just my mom, I remember thinking to myself, I could either just like not do it because like my mom's the only one that would know, or I could pretend like there's a million people watching. A million, like 1 million people. So I chose the latter and I pretend there was a million people and I went like into it. I was like sweating at the end just from like emotion and energy and drive. Like it was awesome. That webinar has done over $1 million in sales. And the reason for it is because it's an asset that at the time I was able to leverage and leverage and leverage again. And that's what I want all of you to do. So don't measure your success based on the number of people that show up for your webinar. I hear so many people that say like webinars don't work. I only get 3 people to show up. Amazing. You got 3 people to show up and you have an asset that you can now re-leverage. You can put it on YouTube. You can take it and put it inside of a membership platform. And now you have an online course and an academy that you can sell. You can use that webinar as an access point to reach out to ecosystem partners. So like, I'll give you an example, everybody. Who here, just by a show of hands or a yes or a like or a love or any way you want to communicate, who was present for the influence off between Adam Gagino, co-founder of UNBLINDED, and myself, co-founder of UNBLINDED? Who was present for that? Give me likes, give me love, give me yes. So like, give me some optics on this, because that was a webinar. That was a webinar. You can call it anything you want. That was a webinar, and that was an influence off between Adam Gagino and myself. I absolutely demolished him. He actually called me after and he said, Jared, I lost before I started. And I said, Adam, here's how I operate. I never lose, but I always bring up everyone around me to win with me. So you, my friend, are a winner as well. But point of the story, that video, the byproduct of that webinar has opened ecosystems that some of you couldn't even imagine. And I mean that. Like huge ecosystems across industries, including network marketing, dentistry, veterinary, financial services, in the health profession market. We have literally used that asset that was just like, I don't know, 3 days old, and sent it to like key people and said, hey, take a look at this. It's about an hour long. It's worth every minute, and let's talk. And they write back and they're like, that is really impressive. Let's talk. Point being, Michelle, any of you that are doing webinars. One, take it and decide how you want to leverage it. Is this a free resource for everyone, which is great? Or are you going to take the recording and put it in a membership platform and make it a paid for resource? You decide. I'm not attached to either outcome, but what I am attached to is this: leverage the asset. So if this was a really good webinar on XYZ topic, think about 5 ecosystem partners. 5. You have time to do this. All of you do. 5 ecosystem partners in your life that you know or don't know. Send them the replay, encourage them to watch it, and then pose a question or something that's going to lead to them getting back in touch with you and then scheduling a call to speak with you. Use the recording as an asset that opens up doors, that creates opportunity that you can monetize. Don't just let it be a webinar. Let it be the process of producing content that can be turned into something far greater. So I hope that was a benefit to you. Donna Dillon asks, there was a question posted here on the chat. Let me do that first. So Tiffany asked a great question. How do I charge for my expertise without people feeling like I'm exploiting the virus situation? So who here, show of hands or a yes, who here is like, and just let's be real, right? Who feels uncomfortable charging right now? Like who feels that way? Who feels a little bit uncomfortable with charging? Tiffany, if you don't mind, as people are answering, what type of business are you in? So you said for your expertise, what type of business are you in? Please share that with me. What type of business are you in? So I'm going to assume until Tiffany shares that they'll say that Tiffany is some type of coach. So I know there's a lot of coaches that are in both ecosystems of Unblinded and also SYNDUIT as well. And here's my reality on this. And this is my opinion. You might agree, you might disagree, but here's what I know is that in the past, there have been times with SYNDUIT especially where I self-funded the entire company and we built a software solution. So that's like millions and millions of dollars. And there were points, like really only one point, that like cash flow was painfully tight. I've talked about this before, like painfully, like overwhelmingly tight. And I didn't know what to do. Like literally, like payroll was due on Friday and like I was short like $180,000. Like that's how short I was. And it wasn't because we were struggling. I was just like self-funding the development of a platform that was very capital intensive. And I didn't want to raise capital at that time. So I remember thinking to myself, like, well, like I have 2 options. Like either like I'm going to make it or I'm not. Like that was it. It was like black or white. And I'm like, well, of course I'm going to make it. Now, what can I do to make it? And I thought quickly. I developed a program. It was a course at the time that taught health professionals how to market. I went to my list and I made $274,000 by that Friday. And it like bought me in 45 days. And then I was fine. So I was able to get the software to the next level. What's the reason I'm bringing this up? It's because I did whatever it would take. And like that program that I created could have easily been $2,000 to $4,000. And I think I sold it for like $497. Like I made it like really accessible compared to what it was. It's a lot of content. And the moral of the story is this: for any of you that are like in a coaching business or in any business where like you're pretty much exchanging dollars for hours, which I know many of you are, this is not a judgment call. This is just a reality call. Here's what I recommend that you do during a time like this, especially. And we don't know how long this is going to be. So instead of potentially like earning nothing or being like really uneasy about asking for something, what if you try this? Value your time. Like let's say that your time, and I'm making this up, is worth $100 an hour. Value your time. And let's say it's a coaching type of relationship. Right now, that's what people are cutting. They're coaching relationships, although I don't think that they should. I think they should be doubling down on this to weather the storm with you. But let's say that's what they cut. Well, what if you were to approach them and say, because of the current climate, and because I recognize, and this is out of integrity, that social distancing is really creating some barriers for people when it comes to human connection, what we're doing with our coaching program is you have the opportunity to continue to coach with me and bring 3 other people into our coaching hour. So now there's 4 of you, and you can also split the fee. So it's just $25 per person, which makes it more accessible for each person. And you're still earning your value per hour, and you're supporting 4 people in that hour. So when things shift and get better, because they will eventually, now there's the chance that you have 4 individual coaching clients. Just do whatever it takes. Most businesses during this time, they won't financially thrive. Like they won't. Like Zoom is absolutely growing immensely. But like besides for Zoom, like most won't financially thrive. Some will, but most won't. The key is to weather it. So like, what can you do to get from where you are to the end of this, where you can end whole, not picking up the pieces of your life, but you can end whole. So that's what I would encourage you to do, is to think about what is your value per hour, whatever that is, whether it's 100 or 500 or any number in between. And then if a client is looking to cancel because they just have to like tighten up, offer them the opportunity to continue to work with you for that hour, but to bring 3 people along, and you'll take care of splitting the fee across everybody so it's easy for them and now everybody is benefiting. I don't know if that is relevant for you or not, Tiffany, so please do let me know if that makes sense. If not, please post in questions and I'll continue to answer them. But that's what I would do. I would do whatever it takes to get to that outcome by still servicing people, but getting paid what I'm worth. And I would be very clear on knowing what my hourly rate is, because I wouldn't be that. I would just pack more people into the hour so they can split the cost amongst them, and I would empower to get those people. Like, I wouldn't like take all my clients, start coaching them in 1 hour, so now I'm earning significantly less. I'd be like, Bob, I totally understand. Like, this is a really scary thing. And I also recognize, like, people need coaches now more than ever, right, Bob? Like, you would agree with that. Like, yeah, of course, Jared, definitely. But like, it's tight, I'm scared. So here's what I also know to be true. Like, social distancing is isolating, Bob. What if right now we work together and we think of 3 other people that you know that you want to coach with? My hourly rate will stay the same, but now it's spread out through 4 of you. So it's just significantly more accessible, and you can coach with other people that are in the same situation that you're in, Bob. And when it's over, we can then talk about what it looks like. But for at least right now, Bob, the last thing I want to see is for you not to have a coach when coaching is the single most important thing you're going to need right now. And we can now find a way to make the economics work. How does that sound, Bob? And Bob's gonna be like, oh my goodness, thank you. That's like amazing. Oh my gosh. Because they don't want to cancel. They don't want to stop whatever you guys offer. Like, they don't want to. They just don't know how long this is going to last. And because there is like no crystal ball right now, and this could be a month and it could be 6 months, and it's not more than that, but it could be in some way, shape, or form. They're just uptight, and you can lessen that by valuing your hour and allowing people to share in that investment and also share in the experience. So I hope that was helpful for Tiffany and for anybody else. If not, please post the question. I did see a question before in the chat, and the Zoom chat is a little bit slow. Bobby Pellin said, what was the code for the Webinar Wizardry? It still says $97. I don't know the code. It's on webinarwizardry.com. I don't even know. So I think it's Wizards, the number 4, and then free, I think. But just, it's on the page. You'll see it right there if you look. Leslie Ammerman said, what virtual conference platform are you using? I've been looking for a good one that I can use for facilitation in a virtual classroom. It's called Remo, R-M-O.co, www.remo.co. I have no interest in this company. The founder was introduced to me. I like him. I have not used it myself yet. Unblinded is using it. I don't know the date, but within the next 2 to 3 weeks, we are hosting the first ever virtual ecosystem merger virtual conference. It'll be absolutely awesome, literally amazing, with at least a 2 or 3 hour educational experience on influence mastery. So we're gonna be using it. I can't say it works or doesn't work. I know a lot of people that have used it and they love it. So that's really cool, but it's remo.co. And what's cool about it is it's like a conference. So you can see who's there, and like you can go up to them, like press their face, and then like it's a FaceTime, you talk, and then like when somebody presents, like everybody stops talking because they can't anymore, and then there's a presentation, and they go back to merging ecosystems. So it's remo.co. I have no financial interest. I'm not an affiliate. I'm just sharing this in service of anyone that wants to host a virtual conference, because why wait? Like, why wait to do things when right now is the greatest opportunity for you to do them? So let's keep going through these questions here. Some of them are a little bit long, so we'll go back to the longer ones after. They're just quite a bit to read. Okay, here we go. Okay, Tish said, question, my job is to find money, manage fundraisers, and promote the ARC of Martin County with social media and email blasts. With the coronavirus, we've had to postpone indefinitely our largest fundraiser. While I continue to plan for it and work with a few sponsors who have committed, our nonprofit now has acquired even more burdens, requiring more staff for special need individuals that we will never be reimbursed for. Everything together is putting us in a real financial bind. I need to start reaching out to other potential sponsors / donors to find some financial relief. My CEO wants to do an online fundraiser like GoFundMe. Not only do I not have the time to research which platform to use, there are so many, I want to make sure it's effective. What are your suggestions for weathering this storm? Awesome. So I'm just curious, who here has used other platforms besides for GoFundMe? And if so, post it in the chat. I want to see what other platforms you've used. What other platforms have you used besides for GoFundMe? So what other platforms have you used besides for GoFundMe? And let's talk, right? Let's talk. This is definitely a very real situation. It's interesting that this comes up as people are posting. I find that one of my strengths as a leader and entrepreneur is I insulate people. Like I insulate my team, like I insulate my family, like when there's challenges. And I think sometimes as a result, I convince myself that things might even be better than they actually are. I also don't believe in making them worse than they are. Maybe sometimes it's good to know that they are what they are, right? And I think I did that. And then last week, it like completely shifted my paradigm because I was speaking with somebody who is the president of Commerce. I have incredible respect for this person. And you could see the pain in his face because the Chamber of Commerce is like so intertwined into the space of small business owners and nonprofits. And they are on the forefront of seeing like their community, like their tribe, their movement suffering, like restaurants closing and dance schools closing, schools closing and preschools closing, like all these things happening. And you could see the pain on his face as he was talking about this. And it really helped me recognize that things are what they are and it's real. So here's my response to this question, or anyone that's like in a fundraising type of situation where they have to raise the funds to keep what they're doing going. One, don't be romantic about the platform. If it's GoFundMe is what you were recommended to use, just use it. Like they're all the same. So GoFundMe is perfect for this. Two, record a video, and record a video where you're speaking your absolute truth, like your absolute truth, and let it be seen, like how much you care, how desperate the situation is. Like don't make it worse than it is and don't make it better than what it is. Just make it what it is, because what it is enough. And speak that truth. Speak that truth as if you were speaking to the one person in the world that could save your cause, your mission, your product, your service. And just so everybody knows, this advice is not just like for nonprofits. This is for the chiropractor that has no patients coming in and probably won't for some time because social distancing chiropractic doesn't work. It's about having the courage to speak your truth. So for Tish, record that video, put the GoFundMe page. I'm just going to go like tactical and practical here, where you speak your truth and then reach out to your entire database, all the people that have provided funds over the years, all the families that you've been able to support. Reach out to everyone with that GoFundMe link and ask them to just watch the video. If that video is done the way that I believe you do it, Tish, and anyone that's in the same situation, I am wildly confident that people will see what's needed and they will up to support. And the reason I'm so confident is, yes, the world definitely is suffering right now, like that, sure, but there are some people that are not. And there's a lot of people that are not. They might be suffering because they know someone that's sick, but not suffering financially. And there are many people that I know, myself included, Unblinded, SYNDUIT, that like are more motivated than ever to help, like than ever, because the thing that's so unique about the current state of what's happening is it's impacting everyone. Like the whole world is impacted by what's happening right now. I know in my lifetime that's never happened before. I'm assuming not in yours either. I don't know if it's ever happened in the world where the entire world is impacted right now. The entire world. And as much as like we are socially distant, we're extremely together. And for any of you, like Tish, who's in a situation where like funds are needed to keep this going in service of people, like I believe your organization, ARC, right? I think is what it is. It's like rights for people that are challenged, like mentally disabled. I believe, I could be wrong, but I think that's what it is. That's a real thing. There's a community out there not suffering from Corona, but suffering from Corona because they're not gonna have the resources that they need. So Tish, record that video. Like speak with truth. All of the 4 energies that you're learning in the Unblinded Mastery program, make sure those energies are present. Post the video in the Unblinded Movement if you want people to give you feedback, and then get that GoFundMe page up and send an email out to every person that's ever donated $1, any family that you've helped. Post this in every Facebook group you're in, every LinkedIn group, post it on your personal page, ask other people to share it. Create galvanizing energy around the fact that you want to help. And I can assure you that you'll get at least enough to weather this storm. Because like I said, there are companies and there are people that have abundance that are more motivated than ever to help. And the person I spoke with right before this Q&A, I mean, multi-millionaire, and like he's helping now more than ever because he can. And there are a lot of people like that. They just need to know that you're suffering. They need to know what your situation is. Speak your truth. Don't make it worse than what it is, and don't make it less than what it is. Just make it what it is, and that's true for any of you out there, not for Tish. Hope that was in service of you, Tish. Other things I'd recommend, Tish, is get on a Facebook Live rampage. I mean, ask everyone and anyone if through a Facebook Live with you. Ask anyone and everyone to do webinars with you where they can use you as an interviewee and ask you questions, and you can go back and forth and banter. Just make it a mission to have as many people as possible, not to see this as worse than what it is or less than what it is. Just make it what it is. And every conduit should be touched. I believe in you. I know you're going to do this. Absolutely amazing. All right, let's see next question here. Monica, how do you respond to the fact that at this moment, everybody is creating webinars, using Zoom, posting Facebook Lives and new Facebook groups? I feel pretty saturated. I wondered about the general public. Great question. So here we go. Here's what's so interesting. I've actually learned this like years ago because I used to feel this way. Like years ago when I stepped into doing webinars, like for the first time, and I thought everybody was doing that. Like, this is crazy. Everybody is doing webinars. This is just overwhelming. But that wasn't the case. It was just the industries that I was in was so exposed to webinars happening on such a consistent basis. So the general public is not being bombarded to the degree that you are, Monica, and anyone that's really watching this. Like that, this is not a general public Facebook Live or webinar. Like this is something that you were invited to because of your relationship with SYNDUIT or UNBLINDED or someone that was in either of those ecosystems that invited you, and you are a changemaker entrepreneur of some sort, or you're an employee of a business and you have the desire for more. Like you want to, as we say at UNBLINDED, make more money in less time and with more magic. Like that's what you want, right? So you are definitely not the general public by any means. And the general public, what they're being bombarded with is everything but this. They're being bombarded with the news and the media and drama and stress and negativity. So please, just because each and every one of you are feeling bombarded with webinars and Facebook groups and all of those things, don't let that be your excuse not to play your part for your general public. Because that's all that matters, is your general public. The people that you want to communicate with are hearing from you during a time when your message is more critical than ever before. So Monica, do it anyway, get louder than ever, and speak to your general public and stop worrying about what anyone else is doing now. Just focus on what you can do in service of the people that you want to support. I hope that was helpful for you as well. Here's a success story. Charlie Collins. What is up? What is up, Charlie? My very first webinar was a smashing success. I had 59 people attend and received awesome feedback. I have 2 a week scheduled for the next month. Love it. Thanks for the inspiration. Well, Charlie, my friend, you just made my day. That makes me extremely happy. And guess what? Every one of you can do what Charlie did. I mean, every one of you, like, just so that there's like some context here, because not everybody has, like Charlie's visually impaired and he just did a webinar. Like he just did a webinar. He did it anyway. He said, no, nothing's holding me back. I have a message that the world needs to hear. I am motivated to be in service of people. I'm going to do whatever it takes. So Charlie did it. Guess what? Charlie is living during the same time that each and every one of you are. He's living during Corona, when the world is like in shambles, it's shut down, social distancing, and he's visually impaired. And Charlie stepped up and said, I'm doing a webinar, 59 freaking people, and then doing 2 every single week going forward. Charlie, my man, I'm inspired by you. Keep after it, brother. Alka Jane asks, when or from where does the first sales process start? So Alka, if you're still present with us, I'm not exactly sure what that means. So please do share what that means so I can answer that question for you. All right, here we go. Robin Crouch, hello. I'm creating an opportunity webinar for my network marketing business. I'm wondering if I should be using a meeting or a great question. So this is a Zoom question. So on Zoom, there's 2 different ways that you can use the platform. There's a meeting option, and a meeting option means that everybody can see one another if they so choose, and take themselves like off mute and they can speak. And a webinar option is like what we're doing right now, where you're posting your questions and I'm answering them, and it's a more controlled environment. It really comes down to, Robin, the kind of environment that you want to create and the number of people that will be present. So I find that if the audience potentially is more than 10 people, it starts to get a little bit uncontrollable in a meeting setting, but that's really up to you. And if it's a smaller audience, then a meeting makes way more sense than a webinar does. So it depends on the size of the audience. And one of the benefits of Zoom is that if you create a meeting ID, not use the meeting ID, I'll actually show you guys how to do this. So we'll get really tactical and practical here. So here's a good opportunity for you. If you don't know which one to use and you don't know how many people that you're going to expect either, here's what you can do. So I'm going to share my screen here. All right. Because I almost always do webinars because I have such large audiences. And if it was a meeting, it would be somewhat unmanageable. But here's what you can do. All right, so this is Zoom. I'm going to schedule a new meeting. Test meeting for the Q&A session. I'm going to put this, let's say, on the 8th at 1 p.m. for an hour. No meeting ID. I'm going to put host and panelists can put their video on, and I'm going to put record automatically in the cloud, and then I'm going to save it. Okay. And now let's say I'm starting to promote this, and as this is being promoted, let's pretend that I get like 74 people to register. And I'm like, oh my goodness, 74 people. That's a lot of people for a meeting, because it's a little bit uncontrolled at that point. You'll see in the meeting, you can then just convert this meeting to a webinar. And the URL doesn't change. The URL is the same as it was before, but you can't go backwards. You can't go from a webinar to a meeting. So that's okay. So if you're unsure, Robin, or anyone, like how many people you're actually going to get, then host it as a meeting. But if you see there's going to be a lot of people coming, then convert it to a webinar so you can just have more control over the audience. So I typically base this off of like 2 factors. Like, one, do I want it to be collaborative? And if so, the meeting makes more sense. But the other factor is, are there going to be more than 10 people? And if there's more than 10 people, I find the meeting environment just potentially gets a little bit too chaotic. So that's my response to Robin. I hope that was helpful. If there's another question on that, please do let me know. Awesome. Okay, let's see. There's some questions posted in the Q&A here. So let's do these. Okay, this is a great question. Anonymous attendee says, if you feel like you are not the CEO and yet you want to put out a message for the business and there's another business nearby that you want to coordinate with, how can we all come together to help the community? Amazing. So anonymous attendee, is your CEO against you merging ecosystems? Like, So if you can answer that in the chat, I'm going to assume that they're not against you, merge ecosystems. So if they're not against you, merge ecosystems, then just show up with that like beautiful heart that I know is present right now, and introduce yourself to that other business virtually, obviously, because you can't physically show up, which means call them, Facebook message them, Instagram message them, like email them, like do whatever it takes, fill out their contact form on their website, like do whatever it takes, LinkedIn message them, and like literally reach out on behalf of the company and be really clear on how you can support them and ultimately to support your community. So that's a recommendation. Now, if the CEO is anti you merging ecosystems, I would ask the CEO why, because you have this burning desire to help during a time when the world really needs your help. So that's what I would recommend that you do. Hope that was beneficial for you and for everybody else as well. All right, let's see here. All right. Okay. There's a lot of action here. Let me see Facebook Live. Michelle Whitman says, what membership platform do you recommend? Great question. So what membership platform do you recommend? So, I mean, they're all pretty much the same. Kajabi is a good option because Kajabi allows you to have kind of like a website face to the product. It's a little bit more expensive. Thinkific is another good one as well. So Thinkific probably is a little bit easier, and financially it's, I think it's dramatically actually cheaper. Let me see here, I'll look. Yeah, so Thinkific, I think you could even do a course for free on Thinkific. So that might be a good starting point. I'd probably recommend Thinkific for everybody as a starting point for their course creation. So after you finish that webinar, if what you're choosing to do with it, Michelle, is turn this into a course like your own academy, Thinkific will be a good starting point. Kajabi is another good opportunity as well. So I hope that was helpful for you. Okay, I think I got it on Facebook Live. Let's see here. All right, I have luckily 5 monitors so I can see everything. Priya says, I started a Facebook group called Thriving Legends and struggling a little. I want to do this for kidney failure patients in a different group. How do I do that? Find kidney failure patients who would want me now. Please, Jared, any other tips on building groups of patients and building the team of fellow professionals? Okay, great question. So I'm not 100% sure on this, and I've heard 2 different schools of thought. So I'm gonna kind of share my disclaimer here, which I don't know with HIPAA, how it works with creating conditions around health challenges. So that's one thing too. Now, what you could do though, is create it more based on like lifestyle related things that someone with kidney failure might be experiencing. You know, I know nothing about kidney failure, so I don't even know what that would look like, Priya. But it's something for you to think about because you do, and I know you're an extraordinary expert on this subject. Anyone that knows anyone suffering with any issues with their kidney should reach out to Priya. I mean, there's no one that knows more than Priya on this subject, at least that I've come across. And so my recommendation would be to be sensitive to the fact of talking about health conditions from the standpoint of the group, talk about lifestyle-based discussions, like lifestyle-based challenges, where someone that has that condition would like gravitate to that group. And then the question is, how do you find it? And you find it the same way that anyone finds anyone to join their group. You start talking about it fanatically. I feel like one of the things that has happened in the world is people think that there's like a trick for everything now. Like, and I'm not saying this to what you think, Priya, at all. You're an incredibly hard worker. And like, shout out to Priya. Priya sponsored 6 people to get into the Unblinded Mastery program. Like, that's how much she cares about humanity. Okay. Like that's a big deal. But like one of the things I'm finding, and I get these questions all the time, is like, Jared, what are like the tricks you can do to build a social media following? What are the tricks you can do to get somebody to open your emails? What are the tricks you can do to get people to show up for your webinars? And there are no tricks. Like that's the thing that's real about me, is like there's this whole world out there, and I have no disrespect for it, but like funnel hacking, like we'll call it. Like there's like this funnel hacking world, and like I'm just not into it because like that's like trickery. Like I'm into like being honest and being in integrity and like being like wildly bold with what I stand for. And most importantly, being consistent. So Priya or anyone out in a Facebook group and you're like, it's not working, I'm going to challenge you. What are you doing to make it work? Like, what are you doing to make it work? Like anyone that's in the business of transformation, right? Imagine you're working with someone in a coaching relationship and they're not doing what you're telling them to do. Like they're not eating well, they're not exercising, they're not getting enough sleep, they're not stretching, they're not meditating. And they come back to you and they're like, well, it's not working. Well, it's not working because you're not doing anything. And Priya, this is nothing about you because I know you are working. I'm just challenging anyone out there right now who's like, I've tried webinars, they don't work. I've tried Facebook groups, they don't work. I have all the knowingness in the world, so I know better than you, Jared. And I'm not saying anyone's saying that verbatim, but maybe you're thinking that. And I'm here to tell you that I know it works because I do it. And I'm doing no trickery. I'm doing Q&A sessions like this in service of you, selling nothing. Like I have nothing to sell. Like there's nothing, there's nothing here. I'm doing it in service of you. Like, and as a consequence, I have multiple groups with like thousands and thousands of people because I create massive value. I have two companies, more than two, but two companies predominantly that have scaled dramatically because of everything that I'm doing that I'm telling you to do. So there's no trickery here. If you have a Facebook group, this is what you do. Every single day, you record 1 to 3 videos that are completely in service of your ideal audience. And at the end of the video, you invite people to join your Facebook group and you create a link there so it's easy for them to join. In addition to that, you go and you do Facebook Live at least 1 to 5 times a week. And on those Facebook Lives, it's educational, it's intentional, and you're directing people to join your group, but you're adding a ton of value up front. You're doing webinars at least on a weekly basis, and those webinars will guide people to your Facebook group. You're merging ecosystems with other like-minded people that have an ideal ecosystem, and you're merging together, finding ways to co-create. You're going on LinkedIn, you're posting, you're blog posting, you're calling people, you're direct messaging people. It just comes down to how badly do you want it. I know for me, I want it badly. So I'll give you like an example, just to create a comparison, please. And I have a team, so realize it's not just me doing this, but this is a comparison. Last week, I challenged the team. And I said, I'm going to challenge every one of you to look at what's happening right now as it's happening for us and not to us. It's happening because it's meant to happen in our book called Unblinded. So what are we going to do about it? What's the story we're going to write? So this has happened last week alone. We launched a podcast within 24 hours. Literally the idea on Monday came to us. By Tuesday, it was live across all podcast channels. We launched 2 YouTube channels. We scheduled 10 webinars for the next 4 days. We completely reorganized our morning huddle. Head over to unblindedhuddle.com. Anybody on Facebook, you can post that in the comments. Unblindedhuddle.com and on Zoom if you can as well. Unblindedhuddle.com, it's free. 30 minutes every day, Monday through Friday. It's the greatest way to start your day. We reformatted the whole thing. We created an intro for it and an outro for it. We launched a new educational series called The Real Raw Sales Roleplay, and then we innovated on it and turned it into an influence off challenge, which is unbelievable. Some of the greatest learning you'll have is watching other people influence each other, and having Sean Callaghy, co-founder of Unblinded, with myself and chief visionary officer of the company, helping people see what they don't see about their sales process. In addition to that, we launched 2 courses live and produced 4 other courses that are not live yet, but we finished them, so they will be live soon. We launched a mobile application, and we're building out a new tracking platform so that anyone that wants to build a business with Unblinded, which everyone should to some degree, is going to be able to track the entire sales process. Like, it's amazing. And this was all in 1 week, and that's only what's on my mind outside of everything else we've done, including our blog, our newsletter templates, etc. Now, you might say, like, oh my goodness, they do so much, I'm doing nothing, I'm just going to give up. No, do what you can do, but take action. That's why what we're doing works, is because we're just doing everything. We're massively taking action every single day, so that's what works. That's what fills your Facebook group. That's what gets people on your webinars. That's what allows you to build a movement during the single most challenging time in our lives. You will make a choice, and that choice will happen today, and then every day that you wake up. Are you stepping into your legendary or not? And the choice is yours. It's black or white. There's no middle ground. You either step into it or you step away from it. Make the choice. So Priya, thank you for stimulating this energy. I appreciate it. I appreciate you because you're the best at what you do. You're such a wonderful student. Now fill that freaking group. Fill that group. Do whatever it takes. Get people into that group so their life can transform with you. Hope that was helpful for everybody. Leva, thank you for posting that Unblinded Huddle. Thank you for that. Amazing, amazing. Let's see here. Catherine says, is there a program for voice without doing lives? I'm not exactly sure I understand what that means, but I think I do. So I think what Catherine is saying is she does not want people to see her face when she is speaking and just wants to do voice. So I would say that podcasting will be perfect for you, Catherine, because that's more audio based. You also don't have to show your face. Like on Facebook as an example, you could share your screen when you're on Facebook Live, and you could just have like your logo up. So it's like your logo and your voice on top of it. You could also use Zoom, and you can shut off your camera so people can't see you. But I'm going to challenge this a little bit, Catherine, because I sense a little bit of a self-mastery opportunity here. Because maybe, just maybe, there's like insecurity and doubt and self-judgment that's holding you back from showing that beautiful face to the world. So my challenge to you, Catherine, is do it anyway and show that beautiful face. Let people look into your eyes when you're on Facebook Live or on Zoom or on YouTube or anywhere else that you are. Have them look into your eyes, let them see who you truly are, not just hear who you are, but see who you are. And let me know how it feels, because I'm just crazy enough to think that's going to feel pretty darn good. Question from Sabrina Seidman. I've done 61 episodes of my podcast. That's what I'm talking about. What would you recommend is the best way to increase engagement during this time when life seems to be saturated with people trying to share their message? Amazing. So here's my thought, right? It's what I just shared about Priya. Get louder, get bolder, get more audacious than ever before. And I mean that, and I get it. Like everybody feels like everything is saturated. And just because like this ecosystem is in a space where like everybody is doing what everyone's doing, which is really cool. But like Sabrina, you have your own version of a general public, like whoever that is. And it's really important that all of you like know who that is, like get really crystal clear. Like who are you looking to serve? It's not everybody, although I know you think it is. It's somebody, and there's somebodies, right? That's your general public. And I can assure you that the general public is absolutely not as inundated, not even close as inundated with the number of like podcasts and blogs and video blogs and Facebook Lives as you are, because you're in an ecosystem where that's normal. They're in an ecosystem where watching the news is normal. So you now showing up is like a total paradigm shift for them, because like they want something different to look at. They just don't know what that is. And then it's going to be you or listen to Sabrina. So don't worry about the quote unquote oversaturation of content, because your general public, I'm telling you, is not currently oversaturated with content. And even if they're slightly saturated, what if you were the best content? Like what if you were to emerge as like the best of the best? Now's the time. Step into your legendary. Let's see here. All right. So this is a great question for SYNDUIT users from Karen Murray. What happens when people ask if you're using your own content when I'm using SYNDUIT? I finally started using your email campaigns, and I'm loving how people are starting to see the value that I offer with health, wellness, and happiness. So Karen, are people literally asking you, is this your own content, or is this like just your own self-mastery potential challenge, because you know that SYNDUIT wrote it for you? So I would love to hear that. Now let's pretend they are saying that to you. My question to you, Karen, would be, is that content how you feel? Is that content what you would write if you could write, and or is it what you would write time to write to the degree that our team does? And if the answer is yes, then it's your content. So please, everybody recognize this. Most of the authors out there that have written beautiful books, like they've had ghostwriters in those books. So there's like no shame for SYNDUIT users. Like you use our content and like we wrote this in service of you. You hired us as your agency when you hired SYNDUIT to actually create content and have a library of content that you can use. This is your content now. It is your content. And what I have heard over the years of supporting like tens of thousands of people is, and it's like the greatest joy for me, is when people tell me like, what you guys wrote is what I thought. It's what in my heart, I just didn't know how to say it. So that's what it looks like. I hope that was helpful for you. There are some longer questions here I want to get to, but one of them is exceptionally long. So I don't want to read this. Let me see. Okay, so I'm gonna improvise this. So Lee Balaklaw. Question is, how do we proceed when our business clients are shut down for the most part and the ones that are open are minimally operating? Okay, great question. So, yeah, okay, otherwise, yeah, that was pretty much the question. So that's a great question. Who else is in that situation? Give me likes, love, yes, something. Who else is in a situation where business clients are shut down for the most part and the ones that are open are just minimally open right now? Who is in that situation as we speak? Yes, many, right? Like, I mean, like SYNDUIT's in that situation. Like SYNDUIT has like, I don't know, a few thousand chiropractors that use our software. Like UNBLINDED is in that situation. Like we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of businesses across all different types of businesses and industries. So yeah, I think we're all probably in that situation, right? So the question really comes down to, what can you do, right? Like what can you still do? Because there are still things that can be done. And I shared an example from like what we did last week at UNBLINDED. Now that might be a lot for any one of you to do. Like we have a big team, we have a team, and we have people that like within that team are like masters of their craft. So that might not be some of you guys, like you might not be a master of launching podcasts. So a podcast could take you like 7 days to launch because you don't know how, whereas like the person on our team did. So I get all that. Just pick at least a few of the things that I shared earlier and just do them. I mean, like for anyone that has like other businesses that are like, that they work with, that are like closing and not, or minimally operating, like what if now, and this isn't like a financially producing activity, but it really will be, like what if you created a local ecosystem virtual network? What if you called it the best of Bergen County, New Jersey, or the best of Paramus, New Jersey, or the best of your town in Kansas? Like what if that's what you called it? And what if every day on Wednesday from 1 o'clock until 2 o'clock on Zoom, you hosted a meeting, Robin, a meeting, actually this is like a collaborative type of thing, a meeting for the best of blank. And you were the catalyst for this. And you invited every local business that was relevant or even not relevant, just any local business, come to this hour session where we're just gonna talk, we're gonna inspire, we're gonna collaborate, we're gonna merge ecosystems, but the one rule is we're not going to talk about the current circumstance, because that's for everybody what's happening. This is an opportunity for you to have a different conversation. And like, what if you did that? Like, what if you were the one that launched the best of blank within your community? So I'm just curious, like, who's gonna do that? Like, who's gonna launch the best of, or their version of the best of? Because this will go down in history as the single greatest opportunity, the single greatest opportunity to merge ecosystems. I'm telling you this. I mean, I have a really big network. I don't think I realized how big it was until now, truthfully, because like I'm spending time now like thinking about like who should I just touch base with to see if they're okay. And I'm doing this out of integrity. Like I have no ulterior motive. The other day I texted somebody, founder of a company that does, I don't know, $200 million a year, like a big company. And I just reached out. I'm like, hey man, how you doing? Like, are you safe? Are you happy? Like, what's up? No ulterior motive, like none. Wrote back, thank you for the text. I'm doing great. I'm with my family, extremely bored, trying to find something to do. What are you up to? Let's talk. We talk, and now we're creating a program together for UNBLINDED, right? Like I didn't have that motive. Like I literally was just genuine about reaching out and finding out how he was doing. Like just genuinely interested, caring, thinking to myself, maybe he's lonely, and look what just transpired. So I just ask each and every one of you, don't look at me as like, well, that's because you're Jared. I am not Jared. I am just like you. I am Jared, but I'm just like you. There's nothing to do with me. I just do it. Like I just do it like every day. And now it's like just ingrained in me, but like, and it's conscious and I'm conscious to it. I just do something to build velocity, like something to build momentum. And I challenge you to do that as well. So do it, like do it today. Like set up your best of that on Wednesday of next week from 1 o'clock until 2 o'clock, you invite all local businesses who are alone and frustrated and scared and overwhelmed to come to an hour session with you, hosted by you, where you're just gonna collaborate and have a different conversation. Talk about doing webinars, Facebook Lives, interviews, podcasts, launching books together. I mean, I can guarantee that if someone, one person does this, they're gonna come back to my next Q&A session, which will be at some point next week, and they'll be like, Jared, I did it, and this is what happened. like Charlie did. Like Charlie did his first webinar, 59 people came to his first webinar, and now he's doing 2 every week. I can stand by what I'm teaching because I do it. It's not trickery. It's not magic. It's very practical, somewhat unsexy, and it just works. Like, it just works. Like, I'm not here telling you, like, go and, like, hack a funnel. Like, I don't believe in it. I don't do it. Like, I stand against it in many ways. The language around it, like, I'm just not into it. That's not my gig. And I built a lot of successful companies that never hacked anything. I just do tried and true, practical, hard work that allows me to build velocity so that it gets easier. And then I create process around it so other people can do it for me. That's what it looks like. And you can do the same. And now is the time to do it. What other questions you guys have? I see some that are posted here. Sai is doing 2 webinars a month. That is amazing. That is awesome. Leslie is writing a paper on being resilient and bouncing forward. I plan to follow up with a webinar. So put the date for the webinar down. Don't plan it, just like do it. Let me see here. Kimberly Tien. Oh, I love this. I'm going to start with a virtual happy hour. How cool is that? I was on one yesterday and we were on a Zoom meeting with 150 people. If I am opening to the public for global connection and support, not sure how I would do that in a webinar. Your suggestions, please. Don't even think about it. Just do it, Kimberly. Just like do it. Put it out to the world. You're hosting a virtual happy hour, a virtual healthy happy hour, whatever you want to call it, and invite as many people as your Zoom meeting can handle. Like, and consider using Remo, REMO.co. It's more of like virtual conference space. That might be really cool for you as well. But yeah, those are the kind of things. Like, it's so interesting. I have 2 younger brothers and that are in college. And one of them was telling me that, obviously he's not going back to college right now, that every like Friday, Saturday night, and maybe more than that too, him and his friends, they go and like order the kind of food that they would typically order if they were in college together. And they probably get a few cocktails too, I don't know. And like, they like sit in their rooms individually and they're on Zoom and like, they're just hanging out together. Now listen, like that would be it's suboptimal compared to them physically being together, but it's optimal compared to them just being by themselves and not doing it. So like these kind of things, like these virtual happy hours, like go wild. Like anybody that's on SYNDUIT, like you're crazy if you're not like doubling down and launching like 5 times the number of campaigns that you were previously launching. Like we have all of that stuff done for you. Like, and this isn't like, you can do it on your own too, but like just do something, like commit that next week you're doing something virtual to connect people. Like who commit to that? Like on Facebook Live, yes or yes. On Zoom, yes or yes. Who's committed to doing something virtual to connect people? Something virtual to connect people. And if you'd like to share what that is, I'd like to know as well. But do something virtual to connect people. Kimberly, I love it. Go out there and do that virtual happy hour. I can't wait to hear about the success. Some of the questions are a little bit vague in the Q&A. So if I don't answer them, it's kind of vague. So please shoot an email to info@unblindedmastery.com. And if I didn't answer it, because it's a little bit vague, I want to go through here the chat. I did answer everything from the Facebook Live the other day that crashed. So I'm happy that I got that done. Let's see here. All right. All right, cool. I did that. Okay, what other questions you guys have? I have a few more minutes, but I will answer as many questions as are posted. All right, Liba said, how do we find the people to invite into our webinar? I just don't know how to start all of this. Liba, watch the webinar wizardry module that you have in Unblinded. It goes into some good detail on where to start. That'll be a good starting point for you. Zoom is great for this. You can have people register right on Zoom. Eventbrite is free. So if you want people to register for your webinars, which I highly recommend that you do, use Eventbrite. You can use the events feature on Facebook, so people can just register right there on Facebook as well. So that's a great option for you. So there's many different ways to get people to register for the things that you are doing. Let's see here. Anybody else? All right, let's look in the chat here. Awesome. Well, I think I answered everybody's questions. If I did not answer anybody's questions, I apologize. One was just posted. Let's see here. Mike Adams said, is there a SYNDUIT for general contractors? So there's not specific content for general contractors. We have this concept called universal marketing, and universal marketing works for everybody. So universal marketing is templates that you can customize further that are already set up for you. So that would be something that would work for you, Mike. And for anyone that's in an industry that SYNDUIT does not support, we can support you. We have these universal templates. You can go ahead and personalize even further. Anonymous Study says, what is the significance of having someone register for the webinar? Awesome. One reason why to get people to register is you get their email address and maybe their phone number too. So you can start to build your database. 2, they can get reminders as a result. 3, it shows a sense of commitment. They're actually going to show up. And there's probably about 100 others, but those would be the top 3 reasons why I would recommend that you get people to register for your webinars. Question for each of you. Do you find this valuable? Because if this is valuable for you, I'll do this once a week. So yes or no. Do you find this open Q&A? You can say no, I'm totally thick skinned, and trust me, I am really busy. So I can always use the 90 minutes to do something else. But do you find this valuable where you can post your questions? I have no agenda, as everybody can tell. I'm just answering your questions. So when there's no more questions, I have no more answers. But if this is valuable, I will continue to do this for you. I really want to help you guys navigate through this. I understand like how challenging this is because I'm living it. Like I don't want anyone to think because I'm excited, I'm high energy, I'm very opportunistic, but I'm not seeing what is. I'm just not seeing what is as worse than what it is or less than what it is. I'm just seeing it as what it is. And I know that right now, there are people that are watching this that are on the cusp of stepping into legendary. And I said this the other day, like when I demolished Adam Gugino in our influence off, all kidding aside, I love that man, I love him deeply, but I did demolish him. And I said this the other day, I said, I never lose, but I always make sure that everyone around me wins. So the reason I do this is because I know that I'm not gonna lose. There's no chance. And I just want as many people as possible around me so I can help all of you win. So let's win together. That's what this looks like. I love and appreciate you always. Be safe this weekend. If there's any further questions, email info@unblindedmastery.com with your question. I'll make sure that we answer those questions next time. If you email it, you want a speaker's kit, we will send you an example of Sean's speaker kit. I'll share mine as well. Mine's a little bit older. Sean's is like brand new. But so you can get an idea what it looks like. Love and appreciate you. Be safe, be well, and remember, together we achieve more. Bye for now.